Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 6-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Uh, Hopefully everybody did well yesterday. Turned out to be a pretty good fantasy day, and college football was fun as well. So let's go ahead and get into this NBA slate. Like I said, we have a 6-game slate. We have Chicago, Philly, San Antonio versus Memphis, Boston, Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, the Pelicans, and then Charlotte and Sacramento. Charlotte and Sacramento have the biggest spread with 16-point favorites for Sacramento. And the highest scoring game is Boston, Oklahoma City with the 239-point total. The lowest total is 223 for the Chicago Philly game. So most of the other games are at the 230 to 235 range. So let's get into each game here. First, looking at Chicago and 76ers. Vucevic remains out for the Bulls, so does Levine and Craig. And then Melton is out for the 76ers. This looks like it's going to be a pretty slow down game for both teams, so I expect it to be a lower scoring game because Chicago has not played very well this season. Uh, then we're going to look at San Antonio versus Memphis. This game does have a higher total at 235, but Memphis is favored by 11. As for both these teams, the Spurs have Collins out, and the Grizzlies have Gilliard out, but it looks like most everybody else will go. I think Keldon Johnson is probable, actually, so this should be an interesting game there. And a little bit lopsided potentially. Looking at Boston, Oklahoma City, Boston is favored by 4 points in this one, and this has the highest total on the slate at 239 points. And both these teams are at full strength. It looks like there's not going to be anybody out, at least not yet. Looking at Brooklyn and the Pelicans, this game does feature a 6-point spread with the favorite being the Pelicans, but only a 228-point total, which is second lowest on the slate. But between these two teams, the Pelicans have Murphy as questionable, and the Nets have Simmons and Walker both out. So do keep that in mind. And then looking at Charlotte and Sacramento, this has the biggest spread at Sacramento being a 16-point favorite. Also a 232-point total, which is pretty much right at the middle. And so this game has some interesting guys out. For Charlotte, Ball, Williams, and Hayward are out, so that could definitely affect their team. And then the Kings are at full strength, and so I do expect them to win the game. Looking at Golden State and Orlando here, this game features a 3.5-point total favorite for Golden State Warriors and a 230-point total. For the Magic, Fultz is questionable, and Isaac and Ingles are out. And for the Warriors, Green remains out, and they may be playing with a different lineup as they've been kind of mucking up their lineup some recently. I look for both Chris Paul and Trace Jackson Davis to start. So let's go and get into our top plays for the slate here. Looking at Trace Jackson Davis first, he is a core player right now. He finally started to start the last game, and he played very well. His price is dirt cheap. Now, as long as he stays in the starting lineup, then he'll have some utility here. The Warriors are shaking it up, so I expect that they're going to try this new look lineup for a couple games at least, even though they lost to Dallas the other day. He's been playing pretty solid, though, recently, and so that definitely gives him some potential here. And he's played more minutes the last 7 games, and that's where he's getting this nice little boost. Looking at Chris Paul, he's also a core play today, assuming he draws the start. He also drew the start against Dallas, and he played very well, scoring 46 fantasy points. In games he started this season, he's been pretty solid. Granted, he's going to be, it looks like he's starting now with Curry, which is a little bit different, but he's definitely a viable option if he draws that start, and he's definitely a core play in that scenario. Looking at Sabonis here for Sacramento. Now, he's going to be somewhat hard to roster because there's a lot of good center options today. But he's been playing great, and he's got a great matchup here. The blowout risk is the issue, but he should be okay. He hasn't had any bad games in a little while, and he's priced under 10K still. I expect him not to be under that price for too much longer. Looking at Paul Banchero, oopsie, for Orlando, he's played extremely well the last few games. He's been over 40 fantasy points in each of the last 6. I look for this matchup to continue that trend. He's playing well, and he's playing around 34 minutes a game, which is definitely nice for his fantasy point production. And as long as he continues to get those minutes, he'll be a viable option here. Franz Wagner, also in play today for Orlando. Obviously, he's played very well lately. He's had a higher ceiling than you would expect him to have, basically, since he's really playing well. So he's definitely a viable option on the slate. Not a must play, but a good play. Looking at Joel Embiid, this is where things get a little bit strange. So Embiid is going to be potentially back today. It looks like he's going to be fine. The question here is if he's going to have much of a minutes limit or anything. And if he doesn't, then he's definitely going to be somebody I would say is a core play, as he's been over 60 fantasy points in every game he's played since November 17th. This is assuming he has no setbacks. He's a top tier option. I wanted to make him a core play, but he's really hard to make a core play when we're not sure if he's maybe be on at least a small minutes limit here. But he has all sorts of upside in this matchup. So then we'll look at CJ McCollum for the Pelicans. He's played very well lately. He's only had 3 games since early November that he didn't score enough fantasy points to 5x at this particular price point, and he's played very well. He had 2 off games in a row against Memphis and Houston, but I look for him to continue to play at a high level, and that gives him a lot of potential, especially at this reduced price. So he's definitely worth a look on the slate. Hopefully, some more value opens up as we get closer to the slate lock. I just couldn't find a whole lot that I liked in the mid level price ranges and the cheap options. So outside of Golden State, so we'll have to wait and see a little bit. But we have pretty good solid games. If we're gonna pull some players away from those games, I definitely want to look at that Boston Oklahoma City game to find some potential value, but there may not be a whole lot with both teams at basically full strength. And then, of course, if we look at the Golden State Warriors, depending on who they put in the starting lineup, would definitely have some utility as well. So, with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.